Hello, my name's Steven. Welcome to TechDive. Today, I'm talking about my 1080 Ti right here. I bought it about 2 years ago, I think, maybe more. And it's been a wonderful card. It's, super overbuilt. It's crazy. I thought it was like as good of a 1080 Ti as I could get until I watched this Gamers Nexus video. Shout out, link in the description below to them, where they talk about this card having a crappy thermal capability because they made some really dumb decisions with it. There's plastic lining the back plate, and there's like there's not thermal pads where there should be thermal pads. And so basically, going off their video, I have gutted my card. I took it completely apart, reworked all the thermals, put new thermal pads in, put new thermal paste on, and yeah, let's go on this adventure of thermal reconstruction and see what happens. So that was a lot of fun. Let's review. Took the graphics card out, took off the heatsink, took off the back plate, cleaned it all off with alcohol and a Swiffer duster, put thermal pads on the back of the RAM, on the back of the VRMs, on the back of pretty much anything that generates heat, on the back of the GPU, and the back side of the PCB is what I mean. I made sure that it made contact with the back plate, put the back plate back on, flipped it over, cleaned everything off, double. Put thermal pads on the rest of the power delivery stuff. There's a gap between the VRM heatsink and the main heatsink that you can see here. That has now been bridged. The rubber pad has been removed and it's been replaced with a double layer thick of thermal pads. We will see what kind of benchmarks we can get out of it. Because before I had issues where I believe it just crashed, right? Even on a clean Windows 10 install, clean drivers, clean everything, I will still have crashes. OBS would crash, or the GPU itself would just crash completely, and I would have to restart my computer because it just wouldn't want to work. I believe that was entirely due to just the thermal insulation properties of the back plate having this plastic wrap on it. This was layering the entire inside of the back plate, which basically acts as a insulator. This will hold in that heat more than just leaving the metal being bare. So how did it do? Well, as I'm talking right now, I'm going to see the benchmarks coming up on the screen. You'll notice that there's about an adjustment or an improvement of 1 to 10% in all the benchmarks. Now each individual benchmark, if I saw that improvement, I'd say, oh well, that's with a margin of error pretty much, don't worry about it. However, I noticed that with each benchmark I did, there was a solid improvement in every single one, which tells me that it worked. Now, I did not do any real temperature benchmarks because GPU Boost 3.0 pretty much ruins that. You can look it up. People have talked about GPU Boost 3.0.
They really are all the same for gaming performance.
So basically, how I'm marking the success of this thermal improvement, I guess, this thermal adventure, I would say, is based on performance, and performance is up across the board. I'm actually able to overclock now. I have Precision X1 open right now, and before I did this improvement, if I even touched the power or the CPU temperature targets, it would crash instantly. Even the slightest little movement of that bar would crash it. And then if I did any touching the memory at all, would crash it. Touching the clock would crash it. Touching the voltage would crash it. However, I'm now able to bump the memory up to 511 megahertz, bump the voltage up by 100, up the power and GPU temperature targets, and everything is fine. I still have a little bit of instability with the clock. However, GPU Boost, once again, kind of ruins that, so I don't really care about that too much. I'm currently running the Heaven benchmark in the background, and I noticed that I'm staying at 1987, sometimes 2000. It depends on the temperature of the room, and it's never been able to do that before, ever. It would always start at 1987 and then dip down and probably go into 1800s as the benchmark went on. Now I'm seeing it would start in 2037. Is that right? Yeah, 2037 is where it starts. And then it dips down to 1987 and it stays rock solid, which is amazing. You may say, well, it's not worth the time or money. You know, it was $10, about an hour and a half worth of work to actually do this for me. I don't really care that much about the extra couple frames a second. That doesn't matter too much. Well, beyond that is the actual health of the card. If you are constantly maxing out the temperature of a component of your card, you're going to have issues. It's going to start to degrade over time. And I plan on having this card until it burns out. And guaranteeing that your components aren't frying constantly when being used will ensure this card's going to last a lot longer and a lot better over time. So that's definitely worth it. That's kind of a hard thing to put a price on. But I think $10 in thermal pads. I'm going to put a link in the description below, the thermal pad I bought. It's just worth it. So if you want to watch me do the whole process, I will have the VOD saved on twitch.tv/TechDive Gaming. It's about an hour and a half long. The first part had some audio issues. However, I had the whole stream up. I showed exactly what I did. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next time.